Welcome, my friends, to the Bob and Brad podcast, produced by Bob and Brad, the two most famous physical therapists on the internet. I am Bob, and exactly one half of the Bob and Brad team. And my guest today is Dr. Joseph Allen, an optometrist from Minnesota, by the way. And he has a great YouTube channel called Dr. Eyeheld. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about his background, but he's got a lot of great advice for you. If you have one or two eyes, I would check it out. Thanks for watching. Let's move on to the next topic. Let's talk about dry eyes. This is something I had in my 30s, and I no longer suffer from it. But I think I'd fall asleep, and I would be one of those guys that could sleep with my eyes open.
Oh, wow.
Weird. My wife would always give me a hard time, but I think I lay on my side more now.
Can I ask you what helped you think from the moment you had it in your 30s to where you're at now? What do you think has changed in your lifestyle that has helped you?
Yeah, I don't know. I took drops at the time, which I see now from your channel, that not necessarily the best thing to do, the type of drops I was taking anyway. So no, it just stopped. I don't know. I would wake up and you have that real gritty feeling. I mean, it was awful.
Yeah, it's a significant problem, and it's honestly getting worse.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A big connection to people having worse dry eye is because of our computer and digital life use.
Oh, sure.
I think, certainly being on the computer and has always been something that's been a significant effect toward dry eye. But now that smartphones have come out and people are basically walking around staring at their phone almost all day, that is having more of a significant contribution to it.
Gotcha.
Part of the reason, and I've, again, videos that go more in depth on this that try to explain why people are having such dry eye problems.
Sure.
The link behind computer use is that we tend to stare and focus very intensely at computer screens. And so we don't blink as often. Our blink rate drops about 4 to 5 times lower while we're on a digital device. And if we're not blinking as much, your eyes are open, so your tear film evaporates rather quickly. And then with your eyelids not blinking as often, there's oil glands within your eyelids that need to pump. And these oils get excreted to prevent your tear from evaporating. And long-term, the chronic issue that we're seeing in the eye clinic these days is that because these oil glands aren't functioning, they're starting to cap off, meaning they're getting clogged.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And then they begin to atrophy. So the oil glands then start to die off. And unfortunately, right now, we have there's basically no evidence of any way that we can get them to grow back. So that's a big challenge, because once somebody's glands are dead, so people will come to us, they're like, I'm having dry eyes, and they're in their maybe late 40s or 50s. And then we do a scan of the eye called a meibography, and we can see these oil glands and measure how much oil is being produced on the eye. And they've already lost like 70% of their oil glands. And it's we can't do anything about that right now. The best we can do is prevent the few glands that are still alive to keep, prevent them from dying off, and do what we can to kind of recover the status of the eye. But that's just a kind of a little insight into why a lot of people these days, even myself, I'm only in my 30s, but I played a lot of video games growing up. And I didn't blink very much.
Well, I saw one on your YouTube channel where you talked about you blink only half. Your eyelid only goes down halfway. I don't know how you knew that, but
I first found out because my own when I was in optometry school, my other classmates, we learn about this in school, and then we practice on each other.
Oh, I see.
That's how you learn. You show up after class in the mock eye clinics, and then you kind of train on each other. And my other classmates were like, wow, you only kind of half blink, you partial blink. And that is a common thing. We now use instruments in some clinics to measure how often you blink, because you don't even realize it. And people are their eyelids only come down about 50 to maybe 70% of the way, leaving, about 30% of the eye still exposed to the air.
Sure.
And that also affects your meibomian glands, because your glands only 100% release when your eyelids 100% close. So that also plays a role in it.
So is there anything that you can do to help this problem? I mean, use glasses or,
glasses really don't play too much of a role unless you're outside in the wind. I mean, that can have an effect on it.
Sure.
Dry eye is a very complex disease. I think the best thing for people who are, especially if they don't want to take medications, because we thankfully now do have medications to help with dry eye, but a lot of people don't want to take medications. They want to do what they can. Lifestyle. I always am trying to educate my patients about just lifestyle is a big factor. One thing, like myself, blinking more, remembering that you need to blink, which is really tough. There's really no good way to train someone to blink more other than just being more aware of it. I myself play a game whenever I'm driving. Whenever I'm at a red light, it's like my red light challenge. When I see a red light, I forcefully blink my eye on, off, off until I see that the light is turned green. Then, of course, I'm paying attention more there. But it's kind of just a game to train myself. Hey, just remember I need to blink and give my eyes that lubrication. Drinking more water, staying hydrated. I think a lot of us, like myself, I get into a habit of drinking coffee and tea, and I have to just reach for a glass of water and staying hydrated. That can play a role. There's actually research going into it right now I'm aware of them trying to quantify the relationship between hydration and tear production. I don't know the results yet, but at least from what I've heard from some of the researchers, that they have good evidence to kind of give more of a baseline recommendation. So that will be coming out soon. Having humidifiers here in the winter in Minnesota, it's super dry out. Outside in the air, it's dry. Inside, it's sometimes worse because our furnaces are on. And I know I used to do some senior home care. I used to go to do eye exams in a couple of different senior homes, and it's incredibly dry in a lot of those homes.
Yes.
And so I've recommended some people to think about getting a humidifier, trying to keep the humidity at a more tolerable level in a room, especially if you're in an office or a bedroom. Omega-3s is a topic of discussion in eye care. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on omega-3s. There's a lot of research out there, and in the eye care community, there's some back and forth, depending on which studies. And people get really nitty gritty about the brand that was used and the form that was used. But the large overall consensus is that either diets that have higher amount of omega-3s in them naturally, either through oily fish or maybe flaxseed, vegetables, walnuts, those sort of sources, as well as fish oil supplements, do play a role in management of ocular surface disease, dry eyes, ocular rosacea. So
yeah, I'm always a big fan, but I tend to try to get it naturally. I mean, not as a supplement. So,
and there's more interest, more focus on omega-3s also in other parts of the eye, namely diabetic retinopathy and macular degeneration. That may also play a role. As far as dry eyes, other things that people should be doing, which often people don't, is cleaning their eyelids.
Oh, really?
Well, if you imagine, we're kind of trained even as a young kid. Okay, you got to bathe, you got to wash your face, wash your hair, but no one wants soap in their eyes. It even says right on the bottle, like, do not get in your eyes. So a lot of people neglect to clean their eyelids. And probably starting around the age of 13, 14, we'll start fitting contact lenses in kids, and I'll start to notice like they have oil building up on their eyelashes. They start to have dead skin cells that are flaking off of their eyelids, and that causes inflammation, and it attracts bacteria, and it's more likely to cause toxic reactions to the tear film. We can literally see saponification, soap production on the tear film because the presence of this bacteria releasing toxins into the tear film. And because it mixes with the oil of the oil glands, right? And then that causes a saponification process. And if you imagine you did get soap in your eye, it burns. So a lot of people experience burning of their eyes because of this.
Sure.
Cleaning the eyelids on a daily basis is a really good thing. There's different ways to do it, especially for like lady patients, any females who wear makeup. I shouldn't say anybody who wears makeup, really, because makeup not only tends to trap a lot of that in the eye, and it gets really difficult to get off, but some makeup products, cosmetics, they have ingredients in them that are further linked to issues with the dermatology and the skin of the eyelid, and maybe even enhancing or accelerating the death of the oil glands in the eyelids. So cleaning the eyelids, there are different ways to do that, namely through eyelid cleaning shampoos, scrubs that are available, and many more products are coming out now, especially ones that are more skin or eye friendly, that have less preservatives in them and are better for just keeping, because you don't want to just clean the eyelid and leave it dry. Kind of like if you're washing your hands too many times, you know how dry your skin can get.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's more newer formulations coming out that are not just good for cleaning the eyelids, but also very safe for the eyelid too. So those are a few options.
Really a big movement towards trying to get clean products, especially makeup. I mean,
yeah, and part of that has to do with the regulation, to my understanding, here in the United States versus some other countries.
Sure.
I understand in Europe, there's a lot stronger regulation on what ingredients are in cosmetics versus the United States has very few regulation on that.
Sure.
There are
behind.
What was that?
No, a little bit behind.
Like yeah. So we'll see more and more of that coming out. I know there are some makeup lines specifically designed and engineered by eye care professionals, optometrists and ophthalmologists that have dug really into the research of this.
Oh, great.
That's all based off of large scale publications on dry eye disease.
Good.
Yeah, so a lot more coming out in that. Another big thing that I try to, I do touch on a little bit with my patients, and that's kind of connecting inflammation to dry eye disease, because that's a big fire starter in the dry eye paradigm, is that you start having dryness on the surface, which causes irritation and damage to the cells of the surface of the eye. Your body then tries to fix that by releasing inflammatory proteins.
Sure.
But the inflammatory proteins themselves end up causing disturbance of the ocular surface, which ends up just becoming this cyclical problem.
Yeah, it's a bad cycle. Yeah.
And so, I do encourage people to try and eat a low inflammatory diet, focusing more on plants. There are different vitamins, again, kind of like omega-3s, that some different research has implicated to be good. When it comes to supplements, there are different products that are on the market. I myself am still diving into the research to understand more of it. I'm very cautious about who's publishing those reports, because a lot of the companies that make those publications, they also happen to be a lot of the companies that make the products sponsor those studies. So
exactly.
I'm always trying to keep an open mind about that. Yeah. So I've been doing more research on that, and I actually hope this year to have a more fully fleshed out series on vitamins, and as well as diet and how that affects eye health in different parts of the eyes.
Yeah, keep an eye on Dr. Allen's YouTube channel, Dr. Eye Health. Check it out if you haven't already.